So you might ask, what is a fat bike? I'm a beginner. I am a mountain biker. I've been doing that for years, but I never really paid attention to fat bikes before, and I'll try and answer the question with as much as I know, but the big thing that a fat bike is known for is right here. Those big fat tires. In this case, these are 27 and a half. They're 4.5 inches in width this way, and I see bikes anywhere from 4 inches, pretty much 4 inches. Sometimes you see 3.8, 3.5. I think that was maybe older ideas for fat bikes, and then they kept going wider and wider, and I know there is at least some type out there with a 5-inch wide tire. The issue is big fat tires are heavy. There's a lot of rolling weight here, and just being big and fat makes them slow. I know I used to ride a very busy rail trail near Boston, and fat bikes, when I was on my row bike, which if you've checked my channel, you'll see what a row bike is. When I was on my row bike, fat bikes were the one type of bike I could catch and pass. They sound like a TIE fighter on pavement because all those knobs just make a racket hitting the pavement, and that's not what they're designed for. What they are designed for, what they are good at, what they're awesome at, is riding on the snow, riding on sand. I haven't actually tried sand yet, because anywhere around here that sand is the beach, and it's winter time. I just bought this in February, and sand, as you know, destroys your chain, especially beach sand with a lot of salt, destroys your gears. Speaking of gears, this is the other thing that you need to look at if you're planning on getting a fat bike. Now, my first one was a Mongoose Malice, which it had 4-inch wide tires on 26-inch wheels. It did actually ride okay in the snow, but only when I bought it, the derailleur was messed up because the cable had rusted and you couldn't pull it with the twist grip on the handlebar that it had for shifting. You'll notice the extreme angle that this is back at, and then you'll notice the size of the gears. They go way up, and you need that. I sometimes even end up climbing in these two right here, and man, it feels like you're climbing straight up the face of a cliff. But when the snow conditions are right with a nice icy crust and those teeth are digging in, you'd be amazed at what you can climb. And that's the whole joy of a fat bike on snow. It's wicked fun. You can go out and do your single tracks as long as somebody has snowshoed or done a snow dog through the trail, and it's wicked fun. And you can bomb down the other side, and if you crash, you make a snow angel. You're not getting broken ribs and contusions and splints, and probably not broken bones or anything else, because you're not really moving that fast. For all that it feels fast, you're going a lot slower on snow. It's still about twice as fast as cross-country skiing, and I'm a backcountry skier. I do a lot of that, and that was kind of what got me into this. Is we didn't have snow, so I went and I was going to take my row bike out on a gravel trail near our house, or near where I work, and I started down the trail, and I realized I was just sinking in on 1-inch tires. I was like, ugh, this is not good, because everything was just so wet, and the freeze-thaw cycle and all that kind of stuff. And that put me on the, well, I should get a bike with fat tires, and that's why I got the Malice for wicked cheap. I fixed the derailleur by running a new cable, new shifter, and then I quickly discovered that the Malice's biggest ring was probably that size right there. About half, something like that. Apparently it's the gear set they put in there, because everything is cheap on a Mongoose. I think their latest aluminum frame ones, they've finally actually made something that is legitimate, that you could actually ride on snow. That's like an $800 bike from Walmart, brand new. I have not seen one used on Marketplace yet. And it's also aluminum frame. The Malice is a steel frame, and the thing weighs like 50 pounds, which is just incredibly, it's a boat anchor of a bike. This thing is aluminum and weighs about 30, even with bigger tires and everything else. And also the Mongoose Malice tread was nowhere near as aggressive as this. It was much smaller. It worked. It got me out on the snow. I discovered it was fun, and by fixing the derailleur, I was actually able to sell it for a profit, a good profit, and put that money into buying a real bike, a real nice one, with a little bit of money I had saved from other stuff that I bought and sold and whatever. And this is actually, it's a Norco. Norco is a Canadian company. I expect Canadians would probably make better fat bikes. It's the Bigfoot 3, which is kind of the bottom of the line for, they make a 3, 2, and a 1. It's the bottom of the line for their fat bikes. And I think they even make a higher end, or I don't know, electric bike or something. I don't know a whole lot about it. The big thing with the Bigfoot 3 is that you do not get a dropper seat post. I added that. And you don't get hydraulic brakes, which apparently, from what I understand from watching videos and trying to figure out why hydraulic brakes would be better than cable actuated, which is what those are, is that hydraulic, there is a mechanical advantage in the brake lever and the way that it works that the cable actuated one doesn't give you, and so you have to just be strong. Well, I'm a mechanic. I got really strong hands. I'm not too worried about how much force it takes to pull my brakes. And being a fat bike, you almost never need brakes. Very rarely will you ever need them unless you're like pitching, off a big rock down a cliff type of thing and trying to control it so you don't overshoot the other side of the trail. Because the big thing with these is if you really do feel out of control, steer off the trail into the deep snow, which we've had inches and inches of powder, and you will stop almost immediately. It's just, you need to have packed snow by snowshoe or something like that. Now, when I started with the Mongoose, we only had like 3-4 inches. It was enough that people could cross-country ski on. It was that kind of packy snow. And the Mongoose, if I was climbing a hill, I had to ride where someone had walked or snowshoed or cross-country skied. If I was flat, I could actually go into unpacked snow. Once we got the powdery snow, I had not even a chance. And this is the same way. You just bog down and you stop. So I said, brakes. I use them more actually when I spin out climbing a hill, just to hold the bike so it doesn't roll back down as I get off of it. And then as I walk up the trail, I use the brake to hold if my feet are slipping or anything like that. You really just don't use them much. I'm sure if I take this riding on the dirt, it'll be a very different experience, and I will need the brakes more, but I don't need hydraulic. And the nice thing with cable is that you have much more of an ability to fix it if you break a cable or something like that, whereas hydraulic, you got to bleed it, there's tubing, and to me it wasn't worth it. They actually had a Bigfoot 3 that they had upgraded to a mechanical dropper, or to a dropper post, and hydraulic brakes for another $200 and something. And to me it just wasn't worth it. Now I was able to get a dropper post for like $80, and I don't need the hydraulic brakes. The other $200 just wasn't worth it for me. But end of the season, they had a really good price, and I had the money to do it. So it's been awesome. I go out every morning. You can't ride when the snow is slushy because you'll sink in and you'll ruin the trails. So you got to go when it's below freezing. So I've been going every morning before work, starting about 6:30, pretty much when the sun comes up these days. It's getting on towards March now. And the trail's got a nice icy crust, and those teeth on the tires just dig in, and oh man, it is so much fun. You have to try it. And being a mechanic, I like to be able to just feel the controls, feel the shifter. This has the push button shifts so you can hit one, it'll jump a couple, and then you can hit it so it only does a couple at a time. That's the kind of thing I like. It's the high quality shifters. So you just have your two levers to shift down, and you can do one little click and it'll do one gear, or if you push it all the way you actually can get three. And the same thing on the up, it comes up pretty much one at a time. So it, you can drop a couple, bring it back one if your tension or the effort that you need is not. But right there with that, the 3 clicks, that would be 3 gears that it would drop. That's a modern bike in general. Same thing with the drivetrain. You've got it's a 1x, this is 11. So 1 refers to the front chainring only having 1 gear, which anytime you ride a mountain bike in particular, you quickly discover that most of your issues with chains jumping off and not shifting correctly and getting stuck in the wrong, it's going to be on your front derailleur. So this just gets rid of it. In fact, it doesn't even need guides. The chain has never fallen off, and I've been riding this since I don't know, 15 days now, almost every day, and the chain has not come off because it's just that good. The rear derailleur gives it enough tension. It doesn't need guides. It doesn't need anything to hold it this way so it doesn't come off. And then of course the rear is always pinched between the frame and the wheel, so it doesn't go anywhere either. And for off-road riding, mountain biking, that's what you need. Road bikes, obviously you want more control with your front and rear and all that, but that's a whole different game. Most of your modern mountain bikes, you're going to have a 1x type drivetrain too. And that's really what a fat bike is. It's fairly simple. It's funny because you'll find out if you look into it that a lot of manufacturers have gotten out of making fat bikes. They were like a big thing like around, I don't know, 2015, 2016. And then they disappeared. And the reason they disappeared is in most of the country, they just don't have the appeal because they don't get snow, or riding on the beach is not everybody's idea of fun. And then of course the other thing too is a lot of your e-bikes these days, I think they must have figured out, hey, we made these molds to make these big tires, who are we going to sell them to? Because the demand just wasn't there. So a lot of your e-bikes have those because it doesn't become tippy when you're ride across a patch of sand or anything like that. And if you have batteries and a motor pushing you, whatever you lose with fatter tires doesn't matter, especially where you can have a hardtail. Notice this has no suspension on the front fork or the rear, and those big fat tires just soak everything up. Now for off-road, especially in the snow, you want a big contact patch. So these, I'm running them at about 4 psi just to get the best grip and the best feel, and so also I'm not smushing, leaving a groove in the snow. And that's actually what you want for snow. Sand, I think you could go a little bit harder. And obviously if you were riding it around, I don't know on sand what you really want. I haven't ridden on sand. I don't know if I ever will ride on sand. Probably just save this for snow, but I might ride it in the woods too. And maybe for the summertime I'll probably want more pressure just so I don't, cut the sidewall going over roots and rocks or whatever, if I even do. I don't usually ride during the warmer weather. I have other stuff I do then. But that's it. It's fairly simple. As I said, they're rather specialized these days, and only up north where it's normally going to snow are you going to find that they're going to have these in a bike store, like where I got this.